The entire ballroom went silent the moment Elena Hart stepped inside. Not because she was beautiful, but because everyone knew she was not supposed to be there. She was the girl they whispered about near Champagne Towers. The assistant, the charity case, the nobody. Women in diamond necklaces looked at her dress like it was stolen. Men in tailored suits looked past her like she was furniture. And across the golden ballroom, her ex-fiancé, Nathan Vale, stood beside the woman his family had chosen for him. Vivian Cross. Polished, wealthy, approved. Elena had spent 3 years loving Nathan in silence. 3 years fixing his mistakes. 3 years standing beside him while his family treated her like a temporary embarrassment. And that night, in front of every CEO, heir, investor, and socialite in Manhattan, Nathan finally looked at her, not with love, with shame. His mother leaned toward the guests and smiled coldly. She still thinks she belongs here. A soft laugh moved through the room. Elena's fingers tightened around her small black clutch. She wanted to disappear. Then the auction host announced the final dance of the evening, a charity tradition. The highest bidder could choose anyone in the ballroom for the first dance. Nathan turned away from Elena before she could even breathe. Vivian smiled. The bidding began. 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. The room glittered with arrogance. Then a calm voice rose from the back of the ballroom. 1 million. Every head turned. A man in a black tuxedo stood beneath the chandelier. Adrian Blackwood, the billionaire heir no one could touch. The future owner of Blackwood Global. The man every woman in that room wanted to be chosen by. He walked forward slowly, not toward Vivian, not toward the heiresses waiting for his attention, toward Elena, the nobody, the woman they had just humiliated. Nathan's face changed before the entire room, because Adrian stopped in front of Elena, offered his hand, and said nothing. He didn't need to. The silence already said everything. For the first time that night, Elena was not being watched like a mistake. She was being chosen, in front of everyone. And Nathan realized too late. Another man had just seen the woman he had been too weak to protect. Elena did not take Adrian's hand immediately. For a moment, the entire ballroom seemed to disappear. The music, the laughter, the crystal lights. None of it felt real anymore. Only the hand waiting in front of her. Only the impossible choice standing beneath the chandelier. Her pride was shaking. So was her heart. For years, she had survived rooms like this by becoming smaller than she really was. She knew how to lower her eyes before someone else lowered them for her. She knew how to smile through humiliation, how to pretend rejection didn't hurt, how to quietly disappear when powerful people decided she didn't belong. That was how she had survived Nathan's world. But Adrian wasn't looking at her the way Nathan's family did. He wasn't looking at her like a problem, or a mistake, or an embarrassment that needed to be hidden. He looked at her like the entire room had failed to see something obvious. And somehow that frightened her more than the humiliation ever had, because being ignored was painful, but being truly seen was dangerous, especially by a man capable of changing everything. Around them, conversations had stopped. People who had laughed at her minutes earlier were now watching in complete silence. The shift was subtle, but Elena felt it. Moments ago they had looked through her. Now they couldn't look away. The orchestra began again, soft, elegant, almost dreamlike. Elena finally placed her trembling hand in Adrian's. A quiet gasp moved across the ballroom, not because of the gesture, because of what it meant. For the first time that night, she wasn't being tolerated. She was being chosen. His hand closed gently around hers. Warm, steady, certain. There was no hesitation in him. No embarrassment. No fear of being seen beside her. And that realization hurt more than she expected, because Nathan had spent years asking her to wait. Wait for better timing. Wait for family approval. Wait for acceptance. Wait for courage. Adrian wasn't asking her to wait at all. He simply stepped forward. And somehow that tiny difference felt enormous. He guided her toward the center of the ballroom. The room watched. Every investor, every socialite, every heir, every person who had already decided who Elena Hart was supposed to be. But with every step she took beside Adrian, those assumptions began to crack. Nathan felt it too. Standing beside Vivian, his expression hardened. At first, he told himself it didn't matter, that Adrian was only being polite, that the dance meant nothing. But the lie didn't survive very long, because Adrian wasn't treating Elena like an obligation. He was treating her like the most important person in the room. And Nathan suddenly remembered things he had spent months ignoring. The way Elena used to wait for him after impossible workdays. The way she always noticed when he was exhausted before anyone else did. The way she celebrated his victories as if they were her own. Memories arrived one after another, not because he wanted them, because regret was finally catching up. Across the ballroom, Vivian noticed a change in him. Her fingers tightened around her champagne glass. For the first time all evening, her confidence wavered, because she could see what everyone else was beginning to see. Nathan wasn't watching the dance. He was watching Elena, and that was a problem. Beneath the chandelier, Adrian slowly turned Elena toward him. The red reflections from the crystal ceiling danced across her face. For one brief second, she looked almost unreal, not transformed, not changed, simply recognized. Like a masterpiece that had spent years hidden beneath a sheet. The room wasn't discovering someone new. The room was realizing what it failed to appreciate. Adrian noticed the uncertainty still lingering behind her eyes. The instinct to apologize for existing. The habit of expecting rejection. And without saying a word, he moved slightly closer. Not enough to create scandal. Not enough to invite gossip. Just enough to create safety. Just enough for her to understand she wouldn't have to face the room alone. The difference was almost invisible. But Elena felt it immediately. Because protection offered freely feels very different from protection that must be earned. Nathan had always needed explanations. Adrian needed none. He looked briefly toward the guests who had mocked her, then back at Elena. And in that simple movement, he gave her something Nathan never truly had. Not attention, not admiration, not desire. Something far more powerful. The feeling that she no longer needed permission to belong. Elena Hart had never been born into luxury. She had grown up watching other people live the kind of life magazines called effortless. Her mother spent years cleaning hotel suites that overlooked the Manhattan skyline. As a little girl, Elena would sometimes wait in the lobby after school, quietly reading while wealthy guests walked past carrying shopping bags worth more than her mother's monthly salary. She learned early that some people entered rooms through golden doors. Others spent their lives opening those doors for them. Nothing Elena achieved came easily. Every scholarship had been earned. Every promotion had been fought for. Every opportunity had arrived attached to exhaustion. Yet, somehow she never became bitter. That was what made her different. When most people saw obstacles, Elena saw responsibility. When others complained, she worked. When others quit, she stayed. That was how she eventually arrived at Vail Industries. Not through connections, not through family influence, through competence. The first time Nathan noticed her, she wasn't wearing an expensive dress. She wasn't standing beneath a chandelier. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was sitting alone in a conference room at nearly midnight, correcting a mistake that could have cost the company millions. Nathan never forgot that night. At least, he used to think he never would. Back then, admiration had come naturally, before fear replaced it, before family pressure became more important than loyalty. Their relationship never looked glamorous. Most of their happiest moments happened after everyone else had gone home. Coffee growing cold on forgotten desks. Shared victories nobody celebrated. Long nights spent solving problems together. The kind of partnership that rarely attracted attention, but often survives longer than passion. Nathan used to tell her she was the strongest person he knew. The tragedy was that he stopped acting like he believed it. Across the ballroom, as Adrian continued leading Elena through the dance, old memories kept forcing themselves into Nathan's mind. Each one felt heavier than the last. He remembered Elena waiting outside board meetings when investors attacked him. He remembered her defending him when others questioned his leadership. He remembered every moment she chose him. And suddenly he could see something terrifying. She had been carrying the relationship for much longer than he realized. The realization arrived too late, because while Nathan was looking backward, Adrian was standing beside her in the present. That difference mattered. Vivian noticed it immediately. The smile she had worn all evening began to tighten, not because Adrian had chosen Elena, because Nathan couldn't stop watching her. The ballroom was changing. The same people who once ignored Elena were beginning to whisper for a completely different reason. Curiosity, respect, interest. Status was shifting in real time, and everyone could feel it. A woman who had entered the room as an outsider was slowly becoming the center of attention, not because she demanded it, because someone powerful had publicly recognized her value. For Elena, that shift felt almost unreal. The attention should have felt satisfying. Instead, it felt unfamiliar. For years, she had learned how to expect disappointment, how to prepare for rejection, how to survive being overlooked. Being valued required a different kind of courage. Because once someone truly sees you, losing that recognition hurts far more than never having it at all. Beneath the crystal lights, Adrian noticed the uncertainty behind her composure. He noticed the hesitation she tried to hide, and without drawing attention to it, he slowed his pace slightly, giving her space, giving her time, protecting her, without making her feel protected. The gesture lasted only seconds, but Elena felt it. She noticed how effortlessly he adjusted himself to her comfort. The realization unsettled her. She couldn't remember the last time someone had done that, not without expecting something in return. And for reasons she could not fully explain, that small act of consideration affected her more than all the grand displays of wealth surrounding them, because respect had always been rarer than luxury, and infinitely more valuable. The worst betrayal had not happened in the ballroom. It had happened weeks earlier, long before Adrian Blackwood ever stepped into Elena's story. 3 weeks before the charity gala, Vail Industries had been quietly falling apart. Investors were losing confidence. Contracts were hanging by a thread. One mistake could have pushed the company over the edge. Most people never saw the crisis. Elena did, night after night. While office floors emptied and city lights reflected against the glass towers outside, she remained at her desk, coffee growing cold beside stacks of documents, eyes burning from exhaustion, searching, reviewing, correcting. She found the missing clause first, a detail everyone else had overlooked. Then she uncovered inconsistencies hidden inside financial reports. Then she reopened negotiations that senior executives had already given up on. Piece by piece, she rebuilt a deal that could save the company. No applause followed. No recognition arrived. Only more work. And Elena accepted it, because somewhere deep inside, she still believed loyalty mattered. Meanwhile, Nathan spent more and more evenings attending social functions with Vivian. Photographs appeared online. Charity dinners, investor galas, private events. Every image felt like a small warning Elena tried not to hear. Still, she kept working. Still, she kept choosing him. The board meeting arrived on a rainy Thursday morning. Elena entered carrying the acquisition file she had spent weeks completing. For the first time in months, she felt hopeful, not proud, hopeful, because results were impossible to ignore. Or so she thought. The board members took their seats. Nathan sat near the center of the table. His mother sat beside him. Vivian arrived moments later, elegant, confident, already smiling. The presentation began. Then something unexpected happened. Nathan's mother reached for Elena's file, not to congratulate her, not to acknowledge her work. She handed it directly to Vivian. The room remained silent for 1 second, 2, 3. Then Vivian stood and began presenting Elena's work as if she had created it herself. The numbers, the strategy, the negotiations, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every solution, all of it suddenly belonged to someone else. The room applauded. Several board members congratulated Vivian. One investor even called her brilliant. Elena didn't look at Vivian. She looked at Nathan, because only one thing mattered. He knew. She could see it. He knew exactly who had done the work. One sentence could have changed everything. One interruption, one act of courage, one moment of loyalty. Instead, Nathan lowered his eyes and said nothing. The applause continued, but Elena barely heard it anymore. Something far more important had broken, not her reputation, her faith in him. In that moment, she finally understood something painful. Love without courage eventually becomes abandonment. After the meeting ended, people gathered around Vivian. Compliments followed her through the hallway. Admiration followed her to the elevators. Status followed her everywhere. The woman receiving recognition had done nothing. The woman who earned it walked alone. Then came the final wound. Vivian slowed her pace just enough to walk beside Elena. Not close enough to create a scene. Just close enough to make sure every word landed. Her smile never disappeared. That somehow made it worse. The message was simple. Women like Elena build opportunities. Women like Vivian inherited them. When the elevator doors finally closed, Elena was alone. Only then did the tears come. Quiet, controlled, almost invisible. The same way she had learned to survive every disappointment inside Nathan's world. Miles away, another story was beginning. Inside Blackwood Global, a confidential report arrived through a protected legal channel. One created months earlier to prevent corporate fraud. The file landed on Adrian Blackwood's desk. He opened it, read the analysis, reviewed the negotiations, examined the recovery strategy. Then he noticed something unusual hidden within the metadata. A name, Elena Hart. Adrian read it again, then a third time, not because he doubted it, because he suddenly understood something extraordinary. Someone had just saved an entire company, and the company was pretending she did not exist. After the dance ended, the applause slowly faded behind them, but Nathan barely heard it. His attention remained fixed on Elena. For months, he had convinced himself she would always be there, always waiting, always understanding, always forgiving. Now, for the first time, that certainty was slipping away. The marble corridor outside the ballroom felt colder than the celebration behind him. Nathan followed her, not because he had finally found courage, because fear had finally found him. He had seen something inside the ballroom that he could not ignore. The room had changed. The same executives who once overlooked Elena were now asking questions about her. The same investors who barely remembered her name were suddenly watching her. Status was moving, and for the first time, it was moving away from him, toward her. Nathan reached for her wrist. The gesture was instinctive, familiar, the kind of movement that had always stopped her before. But not this time. Elena stepped back, only a few inches, yet the distance felt enormous. The movement was small. The consequence was not, because she had never stepped away before. Not after arguments, not after disappointments, not even after humiliation. Something inside Nathan tightened. For years, he had believed patience and love were the same thing. Now, he was realizing they were not. Patience had limits, and Elena had finally reached hers. Behind them, laughter echoed faintly from the ballroom. The celebration continued, but Nathan felt strangely isolated, as if he were standing outside his own life, watching it fall apart in slow motion. Elena looked at him, not with anger. That would have been easier, not with bitterness. That would have been familiar. She looked at him with exhaustion, and somehow that hurt more than either, because anger leaves room for hope. Exhaustion rarely does. Nathan suddenly remembered dozens of moments he had dismissed. Every apology she accepted, every promise he postponed, every time she asked for support and received patience instead. The memories arrived without mercy, one after another, and each one carried the same realization. She had spent years fighting for them. Alone, inside the ballroom, Vivian stood near the entrance, watching, waiting. The confidence she had worn all evening was beginning to crack, because she recognized something dangerous. Nathan was no longer protecting a future with her. He was mourning a future with Elena. Jealousy settled quietly behind her smile, not because Elena had become wealthier, not because Adrian was powerful, because Elena was becoming irreplaceable. At the far end of the corridor, another figure appeared. Adrian Blackwood, calm, silent, unhurried. He didn't rush toward Elena. He didn't interrupt. He didn't demand attention. He simply stood there, and somehow that made his presence impossible to ignore. Nathan noticed it immediately. Adrian wasn't trying to win. He wasn't competing. He wasn't proving anything. He was simply available in the exact moment Nathan had failed to be. That realization landed harder than any accusation, because Nathan finally understood the difference between love and protection. He had always assumed Elena would remain. Adrian behaved as though she was worth keeping. Elena followed Nathan's gaze. For a brief moment, she looked toward Adrian. The tension shifted instantly. Not dramatic, not obvious, but real. For the first time all evening, she felt something unfamiliar. Relief. The feeling startled her. The feeling lingered longer than it should have. That bothered her, because relief was supposed to come from familiar people, not from a man she barely knew. She had spent so long preparing for disappointment that safety almost felt unnatural, and somehow Adrian made it feel effortless. Nathan saw it too, and the sight filled him with something he had never expected to feel. Regret, pure, undeniable, and far too late. Elena turned back toward him one final time. Her eyes glistened beneath the corridor lights. No speech was necessary. No explanation remained. The damage had already happened. Some losses announced themselves with shouting. Others arrived in silence. This one arrived in silence. Then Elena walked past him. Not quickly, not dramatically, just decisively. Each step carried her farther away from a version of herself that had spent years asking to be chosen, and closer to a future where she no longer needed permission to matter. Nathan watched her leave, unable to stop her, unable to follow. For the first time in years, he finally understood what losing her felt like. And that understanding came only after someone else had begun to recognize her worth. In the days following the gala, Elena's life changed in ways she never expected. Not overnight, almost hour by hour. Her name began appearing in conversations she wasn't supposed to be part of. Women who had ignored her suddenly wanted lunch meetings. Executives who once walked past her now remembered her name. Luxury brands sent invitations. Charity organizations requested partnerships. The attention kept growing. But instead of feeling victorious, Elena felt exposed. For years, invisibility had protected her. Now everyone was looking, and she wasn't sure she liked what they saw. Each morning brought new headlines, new rumors, new theories. Who was Elena Hart? Why had Adrian Blackwood chosen her? The city became obsessed with a mystery, yet nobody seemed interested in the truth. Nobody talked about her sacrifices, Nobody talked about the years she spent being overlooked. They only cared about the moment she had finally been noticed. Across the city, Nathan followed every headline. Every article felt like another reminder of what he had failed to protect. The worst part wasn't Adrian. The worst part was realizing how many people suddenly saw Elena's value the moment she stopped belonging to him. Regret became impossible to escape. He started finding excuses to appear near places she loved. A coffee shop, a bookstore, the foundation where she volunteered every Saturday. He never approached her. Not at first. He simply watched. And every visit revealed something painful, a version of Elena he had never taken the time to understand. Meanwhile, Adrian seemed to discover those details effortlessly. One afternoon, a projector failed minutes before a children's charity presentation. Staff members began panicking. Volunteers rushed in every direction. Before anyone could react, Elena was already kneeling beside the equipment, calm, focused, fixing the problem herself. The children never even realized something had gone wrong. Adrian noticed, not the repair, the instinct behind it, the way she protected other people from stress before protecting herself. That was what stayed with him, not admiration, recognition. The same recognition Nathan had spent years overlooking. As the weeks passed, their paths crossed more often, never forced, never dramatic. A conversation after an event. During one elevator ride, neither spoke. Yet Elena found herself noticing the way Adrian always stepped aside first whenever the doors opened. The detail was insignificant. Somehow, she remembered it for the rest of the day. A quiet walk toward waiting cars. One afternoon, a child at the foundation said something that made Elena laugh unexpectedly. Adrian looked up. For a second, he forgot whatever he had been reading. Elena noticed and looked away first. Small moments. Yet, somehow those moments lingered. One rainy evening, silver reflections covered the streets outside the foundation. Elena stepped through the entrance and stopped. Adrian was standing beside a black car, an umbrella already open, waiting. No grand gesture, no performance, no expectation, just consideration. The sight caught her off guard. Because kindness offered freely always felt unfamiliar. She hesitated. Adrian simply stepped closer and raised the umbrella over her, not touching her, not rushing her, giving her space to choose. The distance made her trust him more, because Nathan had always asked for patience. Adrian offered comfort. Across the street, Nathan saw everything. The umbrella, the hesitation, the quiet understanding between them. And for the first time, jealousy stopped feeling like possession. It became grief. Because he wasn't watching another man take Elena away. He was watching another man become the safe place she had once begged him to be. And deep down, Nathan already knew the most painful truth of all. Some people are lost long before they actually leave. Nathan's opportunity arrived on a cold winter evening. The investor dinner had gathered some of the most influential names in the city. Crystal chandeliers reflected across polished floors. Waiters moved between tables. Cameras flashed. Conversations drifted through the ballroom. Yet Nathan barely noticed any of it. His attention kept returning to Elena. She stood near the foundation's representatives wearing a deep red dress. Simple, elegant, confident. Months earlier, people would have overlooked her. Now every camera seemed to find her naturally. The change was impossible to ignore, and impossible for Nathan to accept, because he remembered the years she spent standing beside him while nobody looked twice. Now the room was seeing what he had failed to protect. The realization followed him all night. A quiet punishment. Then the interruption came. A server lost control of a tray near Elena's table. Glass shattered against the floor. Several guests jumped. The sudden noise froze the room for a second. Elena flinched instinctively, a reaction she thought she had hidden long ago. Nathan moved immediately. Old habits, old memories, old regret. For one brief moment, he believed he might still be the person she turned toward when things went wrong. But Adrian was already there. Not dramatic, not possessive. Simply stepping between Elena and the broken glass, creating safety before danger could reach her. The gesture lasted only seconds, yet everyone noticed, including Nathan, especially Nathan, because protection had become Adrian's instinct, while hesitation had become his own. Elena looked up. Their eyes met. Nothing was spoken. Nothing needed to be. The understanding between them felt private, and somehow that made it more painful to witness. Nathan stopped where he was. The distance between them suddenly felt larger than the ballroom itself, because he finally understood something he had spent months avoiding. Love rarely disappears overnight. It fades whenever someone else consistently shows up where you failed. Later that evening, Elena stepped onto the terrace overlooking the city. Winter light stretched across the skyline. For a few quiet minutes, she allowed herself to breathe. Then Nathan appeared. Not confident, not defensive, just tired. The sight surprised her. For the first time in months, he looked less like the heir to Vail Industries and more like the man she once loved. The man who used to stay awake beside her solving impossible problems. The man who dreamed bigger than his family. The man who once promised they would face every obstacle together. For a dangerous moment, Elena remembered that version of him, and remembering hurt, because loss becomes heavier when you can still recognize what once made it valuable. Nathan looked at her as if he wanted to say 1,000 things, but regret had arrived so late that words no longer seemed powerful enough. Something softened inside Elena. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Just sadness. The kind that appears when old wounds stop bleeding and start becoming scars. For a moment, she wondered what would have happened if Adrian had entered her life years earlier, before the boardrooms, before the compromises, before she learned how much loneliness could hide inside loyalty. The thought disappeared almost immediately, but not before it frightened her. Because for the first time, the future she imagined no longer looked exactly like the one she had once planned with Nathan. Behind the glass doors, another pair of eyes watched everything. Vivian. She saw the distance shrinking. She saw Nathan's expression. She saw Elena hesitate. And she immediately understood the danger. Nathan wasn't fighting for Elena anymore. He was remembering her. And memories were far more difficult to defeat. A slow smile returned to Vivian's face. Not because she felt confident, because she had made a decision. If Elena's heart was beginning to soften, then it was time to make sure it broke one final time. Vivian waited for the perfect moment. Not before the cameras. Not before the guests arrived. She waited until attention was at its highest. Until every investor, journalist, executive, and billionaire heir was focused on the stage. Then she struck. The large screen behind the ceremony flickered. A document appeared. At first, few people understood what they were seeing. Then, whispers began spreading across the room. A confidential internal memo. An accusation. A betrayal. The document claimed Elena Hart had secretly leaked Vail Industries' financial records to Blackwood Global. The atmosphere changed instantly. Conversation stopped. Expressions hardened. Curiosity became suspicion. Suspicion became judgment. The same people who had spent weeks admiring Elena suddenly stepped back emotionally. Status shifted again. Only this time, it shifted against her. Elena stood beneath the stage lights. Still, silent. The accusation echoed through the ballroom while hundreds of eyes turned toward her. It felt painfully familiar. Not because she was guilty, because once again she was being asked to carry the consequences of someone else's choices. Across the room, Nathan stared at the screen. His face drained of color. He knew the accusation was impossible. He knew Elena would never do it. He knew exactly who had saved the company. And once again, fate placed a choice in front of him. Truth or comfort. Protection or silence. For one brief second, Elena looked at him. Not hopefully, not desperately. Just long enough to see whether anything had changed. Nathan looked back, then toward his mother, then toward Vivian. The hesitation lasted only moments, but it was enough, because silence can answer questions just as clearly as words. Something inside Elena finally went still. Not her heart, her hope. The last fragile piece of it disappeared. The loss was invisible. Yet, somehow everyone could feel it. Vivian noticed first. A quiet satisfaction appeared in her eyes. She believed she had won. Nathan believed he had lost, and the room waited to see how Adrian Blackwood would react. That was the moment he stood. No urgency, no anger, no performance, just certainty. The ballroom followed him with their eyes as he crossed the room. Each step increased the tension. Vivian smiled, certain he was about to protect his reputation. Nathan almost felt relief, certain Adrian would distance himself from the scandal. But Adrian never looked at the document. He never looked at the screen. He looked at Elena, only Elena. Then he stopped beside her, close enough for every camera to capture it, close enough for every guest to understand. Without hesitation, he removed his black jacket and placed it around her shoulders. The gesture lasted seconds. The impact was immediate. The room froze, because everyone understood what he was saying without speaking a word. He was not abandoning her. He was standing with her, publicly, completely. Nathan felt the truth hit him like a physical blow, because Adrian had just done, in front of the entire city, what he himself had failed to do for years. Protect her when it was inconvenient. Choose her when it was risky. Believe her before proof arrived. And that changed everything. The accusation remained on the screen. The cameras were still recording. The scandal was still unfolding. Yet, none of it mattered anymore. Because for the first time, Elena was not standing alone beneath the weight of humiliation. Someone had stepped into it with her. And suddenly the room understood something far more powerful than the accusation itself. This was not sympathy. This was not obligation. This was devotion. Adrian accepted the microphone. The ballroom fell silent. Not because he raised his voice. Because he didn't. Calmness carried more power than anger ever could. Hundreds of eyes followed him. Investors, journalists, executives, people who had already judged Elena twice that night. Adrian never looked at them. His attention remained fixed on the truth. Then the screen behind the stage changed. The accusation disappeared. A new file appeared. Then another. Then another. The evidence unfolded piece by piece. Metadata records, legal submissions, investor correspondence, digital signatures. Every document pointed toward the same conclusion. Elena Hart had authored the acquisition strategy that saved Vail Industries. Not Vivian, not the board, not Nathan. Elena. The room reacted immediately. Whispers returned. Only now they carried a different tone. Not suspicion, recognition. The shift spread through the ballroom like a wave. People who had doubted her minutes earlier suddenly looked uncomfortable because the woman they had questioned was the same woman who had rescued an entire company. The accusation had exposed more than Vivian's lie. It had exposed everyone else's blindness. The screen changed again, this time revealing the source of the false memo. Vivian's private account, several altered timestamps, internal communications. Every manipulation laid bare beneath the ballroom lights. For the first time all evening, Vivian looked afraid. Real fear, not performance, not strategy. Consequences. Around her, guests slowly stepped away. The social distance appeared almost instantly. Status was shifting again, and this time there was nowhere to hide. Nathan watched in silence, but jealousy had disappeared. What remained was worse. Understanding. The full weight of everything he had lost settled onto him at once. Elena had never been an inconvenience, never been a burden, never been the obstacle his family claimed she was. She had been the reason he survived, the reason his company survived, the reason his future existed at all, and he had rewarded that loyalty with silence. Across the room, Nathan's mother tried to speak. No one listened. The authority she once carried had vanished, not through humiliation, through irrelevance. Meanwhile, Adrian turned toward Elena, not to claim her, not to rescue her, to give her something nobody else had. A choice. He placed the microphone into her hands. The room held its breath, waiting. Some expected revenge. Others expected tears. Many expected anger. Elena offered none of them. She simply stood there, calm, steady, certain. The same certainty Adrian had shown when he stepped beside her. Then her eyes found Nathan. For a brief moment, the world seemed to disappear. No ballroom, no cameras, no audience. Only two people standing on opposite sides of truth that had arrived too late. Nathan finally saw her clearly, not as someone asking to be chosen, not as someone waiting for approval, not as someone fighting for love, but as someone who no longer needed any of it. That realization broke something inside him, because there was nothing left to fix, nothing left to promise, nothing left to save. Elena returned the microphone, then walked away from the stage. No dramatic speech followed, no celebration, only silence. And somehow the silence felt louder than applause. Outside, snow drifted across the grand staircase. The city lights shimmered beneath the winter sky. Elena stopped at the bottom of the steps. Adrian joined her moments later, still wearing only his white shirt, still carrying the cold she no longer had to. The sight stayed with her, because all evening she had watched people choose comfort over loyalty. Adrian had done the opposite, again, and again, and again. For the first time, she understood the difference between being desired and being valued. One fades when circumstances change. The other remains when circumstances become difficult. Adrian looked at her, then waited. No pressure, no assumption, no demand. The patience in that moment affected her more than any declaration ever could. A man powerful enough to take almost anything in the world was still asking her heart for permission. The final wall around hers collapsed. Elena stepped closer. Snowflakes drifted between them. Then she kissed him, softly, honestly, without fear. Behind the ballroom doors, Nathan watched. The kiss wasn't meant for revenge. That was what made it unbearable. Because revenge can be dismissed. Performance can be doubted. But truth cannot. And for the first time, Nathan was forced to witness the future he had lost. Not because another man stole it. Because he had abandoned it himself. By the time Winter returned to Manhattan, the scandal had become a memory. The headlines had disappeared. The rumors had faded. The city had already moved on to new stories. But Elena Hart's life had not returned to what it was. It had become something entirely different. The ballroom she entered that evening looked familiar. The chandeliers, the music, the polished marble floors. Months earlier, the same world had questioned whether she belonged inside rooms like this. Now the invitations carried her name, not as a guest, as the woman being honored, the founder of the Hart Women's Initiative, an organization created to support women whose work had been stolen, dismissed, or quietly erased. The mission felt personal, because Elena understood that kind of pain better than anyone. As she walked to the ballroom, conversation softened. People turned, not out of curiosity, out of respect. The difference mattered. Recognition built on scandal fades quickly. Recognition built on character lasts. Elena wore red again, not for attention, not for status, for herself. The color reminded her of the night everything changed, the night she stopped asking for permission to matter. Across the room, Nathan stood near the back of the ballroom, alone, not abandoned, simply separate. The distinction mattered. Vail Industries had survived. His career had survived. His reputation had mostly recovered. But some losses leave permanent marks that success cannot erase. People no longer introduce him as the future of the company. More often, they remembered something else. The woman he failed to recognize until another man did. The realization never became easier. Nearby, his mother sat quietly. The influence she once carried had softened, not through punishment, through consequence. And Vivian had long disappeared from the circles that once celebrated her. The room had moved forward. Only regret remained behind. Then Elena's name was announced. The audience rose to their feet. Applause filled the ballroom. Not because of controversy, not because of sympathy, because she had earned it. For a brief moment, Elena stood beneath the lights and allowed herself to absorb what had once felt impossible. Not admiration, belonging. The feeling settled quietly inside her, a reward far greater than revenge. In the front row sat Adrian Blackwood. Calm as always, he did not seek attention. He never had. Yet somehow Elena always found him first. Their eyes met, and the noise of the ballroom seemed to disappear. The same way it had on the night he first extended his hand toward her. Only now, everything was different. Back then, she had been afraid of being seen. Now she no longer feared it, because she finally understood her worth did not depend on who recognized it. The ceremony ended. Guests mingled. Music returned. Later, Elena stepped onto a balcony overlooking the city. Snow drifted gently through the night air. Moments later, Adrian joined her. No speeches. No grand declarations. Their relationship had never needed them. It had been built through smaller things. Consistency, respect, protection, choice. The things that survive after traction fades. For a few moments, they simply stood together, watching the lights below, comfortable in the silence, comfortable in each other. Adrian reached for her hand. This time Elena took it instantly. No hesitation, no fear, no uncertainty, only trust. Inside the ballroom, someone quietly remarked that Elena Hart had become successful because a billionaire heir chose her. The comment never reached her. But even if it had, it would have been wrong. Across the ballroom, Nathan watched the balcony through the glass. No anger remained. No jealousy. Only clarity. For years, he had imagined losing Elena would look dramatic. A final argument. A slammed door. A goodbye he could replay and explain. Instead, it looked like this. Her smiling in a way he had not seen for years. And not because of him. That realization stayed with him longer than any public humiliation ever could. Because Adrian had not changed her value. He had only recognized it before everyone else. And that truth became the part Nathan could never escape. Not that another man loved her. Not that another man stood beside her. But that another man saw the extraordinary woman she had always been while he was still looking away.